In the 1950s, anti-Hispanic sentiment was very present, especially in the southern border states such as Texas. Many policies were in place to exclude Mexican Americans from jobs, businesses, and even getting homes. The police were frowned upon, especially by minorities, because of the systematic abuse usually imposed in some of the southern states. In 1958, Orson Welles came out with his last American film, Touch of Evil. Originally, it was a box office failure in the United States, but is actually considered one of Welles' best films, and is considered one of the best film noir pieces of the short-lived genre, film noir.
A couple characteristics of film noir films are extreme high angles and low angles, close-ups, low-key lighting, deep focus, the idea that mankind is rotten and corrupt, and also having a deep, bleak, downbeat ending. Extreme high and low angles are present, especially the low angle, with police captain Hank Quinlan, played by Orson Welles. Throughout the film, Hank Quinlan is continuously shot from below with a low angle, making him seem much bigger than he really is. Close-ups are also an example, especially being the beginning of the opening scene with the close-up of the bomb, or also with the death of Uncle Joe Grande as he looks over Susan Vargas. Low-key lighting is also present throughout the film because of the shadows and high contrasts presented. Noir films like to focus on the idea that mankind is rotten and corrupt. Touch of Evil focuses on the nature of some dirty cops, racial tensions that exist during the 1950s, and both of which are a corrupt side of human nature. Film noir also focuses on the bleak and downbeat ending. The death of Menzies and Hank at the end doesn't leave the story on a happy note, and leaves it pretty bleak. I have chosen to analyze the opening scene of Orson Welles' Touch of Evil. I decided to pick the opening scene because I really appreciate good cinematography. I was struck by the 3-minute and 20-second long take presented in the opening title sequence. I find it tough to focus and frame for a simple dolly, and Russell Meddy, the cinematographer of Touch of Evil, was able to frame, reframe, focus, and crane throughout an entire city flawlessly. Not to mention the direction by Orson Welles needed to make all the extras and the moving parts work and time perfectly. It was awing. The opening sequence really sets the stage for the entire film and highlights what will be important as the story progresses. The first thing it highlights is the bomb. With a close-up, in the very opening of the scene, we know that the bomb is going to be what drives the story. No tension or conflict would have risen if Vargas and his wife weren't present and the bomb hadn't gone off. Another thing that is focused on in the opening title sequence is the Hispanic American conflict shown. One, through the interracial relationship between Vargas and Susan, and the American-Mexican border, dividing the Mexican side and the American side as the car crosses. The moment the timer on the bomb is blatantly set, the audience knows it's going to go off, but they never know exactly when. So as the car transitions from an empty parking lot to a semi-empty street to a very hectic one, and eventually to the border, the audience is very uneasy. Once the car passes Vargas and his wife, there's a brief chance of hope, but as they walk on, the car returns into the frame, adding suspense. Suspense being the main driving factor of the opening scene. As it speeds up and slows down due to the very busy streets, the audience is uneasy because they don't know what's going to happen. The goats, men in trench coats, cars, and carts all play a role in building suspense as the distance between Vargas and the car bounce back and forth. Because of the deep space compositions present throughout the scene, the car is always a thought in the viewer's mind, and when the car is the subject, the Vargases are not far behind.